with some key cosmetic changes putting Diablo 2 Resurrected design under fire by fans, including the toning down of sexual imagery. Ex-Blizzard North staff double down on sexual aesthetics implemented in the game as they share original designs on Twitter.
Not even death can save you from me.
This bill will prohibit the sale of violent and sexually explicit video games to minors and will give parents the tools they need to make informed decisions.
Before we do discuss the artwork, I think it prudent for a tiny preamble to set the tone in defense of Phil Shank's sharing. Way back in video games' golden age in the 1990s, the industry was still fledgling and scrappy. The vibe was rock and roll, with some Christian groups and politicians scrambling, mostly in vain, to censor anything they deemed unbecoming. Hence the pixelated gore of the era, pushing the bounds of the medium. Also, it was inspired directly by heavy metal, horror, action films, all prevalent in pop culture of the time, and of course bled into the designer's ethos when working on a new and exciting platform.
Doom 2 is just such a bigger, badder, better version of Doom.
Yes, it was a different time, and so making a universe loosely based on Christianity and hell, the team at Blizzard North decided that they would perhaps leverage the controversy, perhaps flex their artistic muscles. Whatever the case, they didn't go for more violence, but instead, sex.
You lure no more men to their deaths.
Sex, of course, is intimately tied with sin in the Bible, and therefore could rightly be weaponized by designers and the forces of hell, as shown by the addition of the succubi demoness Andariel in Diablo 2, who for me personally as a youth was outright terrifying, yet also somewhat titillating. Hence her cult status today, and also a bit of an outcry of her more subdued design in Diablo 4, with fans wondering where the heavy metal attitude has gone in Diablo.
So besides role-playing games and some of the other things I mentioned earlier, one of the things that inspires us a lot is music. Metal became a way that we described things in the game. And I don't mean metal like on a helmet or a sword. Metal is like metal. Okay, so this is going to be a little fun. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. I want you to be metal with me. So do metal, and then do extra metal. And then if you can, link your pinkies, lock your fingers.
Just
you can make a hand pentagram.
Yeah.
It's goofy, but it's just for fun. All right, now that, wait, don't summon demons. Nobody's chanting, right? Okay, good. No demons were summoned. None that we didn't want summoned.
Which brings us to Diablo 2 and its redesign. Although I will dedicate an upcoming video about the individual character redesigns, a standout was the muting of the sorceress's outfit. Now, is underboob necessary to battle hell? Probably not. Do Vivendi or Blizzard South have the right to just wave their redesign brush in a wanton manner to appease some 2021 toned-down version of the original? Hell no. But that's not for me to decide, but instead the fans. And more importantly, do cosplayers like it? Cosplayers being the truest of hardcore gamers according to Blizzard, and by muting it, are Blizzard effectively saying female sexuality and anatomy is wrong? I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole, I was having fun. But someone is. Enter Phil Shank. As covered in the site Pure Diablo, linked below, Blizzard North's Phil Shank had decided to share his thoughts on the Diablo games Blizzard North had developed, curiously coinciding with Diablo 2 Resurrected's announcement. However, Phil was an artist working at Blizzard North and had a massive contribution to this series in the early days. He is an OG that was behind the look of the Necromancer, which is a fan favorite, and Amazon, among many others we know and love about the game. So he's an authority and deserves a say about a remaster. Now, I'll cover a bit later, but included in Act 1 monster planning sheet with various columns, one of which was labeled Topless, which was quite edgy even back then in the world of video games. And a quick bit of trivia, Diablo 2's Shank the Overseer was named after Phil Shank and can be found in the Bloody Foothills near the stairs to the Frigid Highlands. Now, the first image that Phil shared of many concepts of corrupted rogues I had to censor due to the algorithm hating nudity. And Phil said, "Here's some corrupt rogue behind the scenes. Back when he was designing her, he said, bad. Having lots of trouble with her game animation files. Skinning info was screwy and I'll need more time figuring it out. And also the promo he did for a magazine, but he forgets which one." Now, I remember there being a few risque images of Andariel in particular done by the art team, which were floating around for the promotion of Diablo 2, but for me it's amazing that an image like this could even be considered to go mainstream. Truly, it was the Wild West. The next GIF, Phil says, "Here's a rendered test for the death of the corrupted rogue, and he still loves the sequence." And as you can see, the infamous soul looking like a dragon head or demon to me, leaving the body of the rogue. Image 3 of the corrupted rogue, Phil remarks, "Her face used morph targets, which was a lot of fun to dig into. That was kind of shiny new tech at the time, but I don't claim these are good, mind you, but they were having fun." And you can see how creative the team was getting with tech limitations, or I dare say expansion at the time, even though you really couldn't see the corrupted rogues up close. And finally, some corrupted rogue body tests. And Phil remarks, "Okay, these might be like fan servicey, but oh well." Did some renders to see how the skin was deforming and maybe got carried away. The second is the corrupt veiny things, which is actually a medium armor version. I had no idea that the corruption was used as armor from Andariel. And of course, the final image is by Michio, showing how devastating and warped the once proud rogues had become, thanks to the pervasive corruption of Andariel, morphing them into her own twisted, albeit nude, visage. But the controversial attitude of Diablo 2 doesn't end there. In an excerpt from a book, Stay a While and Listen, we learn more of the initial design philosophy for D2 demons. Chris Rankovich did the initial design, emphasizing Andariel's size and silhouette, while Phil Shank came in, reworked that design into the metal album sex symbol the demon eventually became. Making monsters sexier was actually a directive during the game's development. A spreadsheet from design lead Eric Schaefer specified certain types of monsters that were needed for the game across categories ranging from small and large to spellcasting and melee. And then one of the categories was topless, Phil Shank says. They said, "Yeah, we need a certain number of topless monsters because they all like the succubi in Diablo 1. Which is fair enough. There is actually uncut content from the original Diablo where Andariel is in her own base of operations above ground in her quest, terrorizing the townsfolk as the then Queen of the Succubi lures men of D1 to their deaths. And the link to that video is also below. I highly recommend checking the quest out through the Beelzebub mod, which restores cut content as fighting in a forest in D1 is actually pretty wild, because it's hard to imagine fighting above ground until you do it. But what do you think? Does sex belong to the burning hells? Is Diablo 4 still moving away from this, as we're seeing that Andariel is now a burnt corpse so that we can't see nudity, or even Lilith is a more repressed, demure version of her previous designs, which, as the queen of the succubi, you would want to be sex on legs. In fact, Diablo 3, if we look back at it, the only thing that was sexy outside of some succubi, I guess, for 12 people on the planet, was Asmodan with those terrible nipple rings. But what do you think? Does sex belong to the burning hells, or should it remain in the vaults of yesteryear? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, traveler.